What is up, guys? My name is Lex. In today's video, we're going to try to answer the question of, will Garrett Adelstein ever play live poker again? If you guys are not familiar with Garrett Adelstein, you must be living under a rock. If you do not know who he is a high stakes professional player out of Los Angeles, plays the biggest live stream games at Live at the Bike, Hustle Casino Live. He's probably the most dominant, crushing, feared player, I would say, in those high stakes streets. He also just played a huge hand against Robbie September 29th, which was the last poker hand that he has played almost 3 months now. We haven't seen him since. It was a big controversy. There is still investigations going down to this day. We haven't seen Garrett Adelstein since. So the question is, will we ever see him play again? Will he ever play on live streams? Is he done? Did he retire from poker? Well, at the end of this video, I'm gonna go over my thoughts and give you guys some information on that. But before we get to the end of this video, I do wanna go over a couple hands that Garrett played the day before, which was the last full live stream that he had played. So first hand we're gonna get into here, it's a $100, $200, $400, $800 straddle game, and it's a pretty wild hand.
Put him in the poll. Did you see we got 10,000 votes?
10,000 votes. We got 10,000 votes, but we can't get 10,000 thumbs up. What's up with that?
Oh, man. I don't know about that. Andy has kings again.
8,000.
What is Garrett thinking with the king 5 off?
Cold 4-bet here coming. Uh-oh.
Oh, man.
This is the second time that Garrett has put a pre-flop raise in on Andy when Andy had kings. Remember, he did it with ace-queen earlier on.
He keeps reading Andy for weak when he's really strong.
This hand begins with JR opening up on the button to $2,400 with Queen 10 offsuit. Queen 10 offsuit is a hand you don't really want to be playing from an early position, but as you get closer to the button, you can definitely start playing that hand. So JR makes a standard raise to $2,400, and now the actions here on the big blind, Dustin with Jack 9 of clubs. A very pretty, playable hand, and Dustin decides to call, which I think his hand serves better as a 3-bet or fold. The reasons for 3-betting would be to take down some of the dead money, not play out of position without the betting lead, and also by calling pre-flop, Dustin's opening up himself to getting squeezed and also playing out of position against some of the best players at the table on his left. However, Dustin decides to call, and now the actions on Andy stacks. In the third blind, looking down at pocket kings, a dream situation, $800 straddles on, there's a raise and a call, and you have kings, and Andy raises it here, he 3-bets to $8,000. Now, if you do some quick math, $8,000 is just a little over a 3x raise size, which I think is quite small for a 3-bet out of position. Normally, if you're gonna 3-bet, you wanna use a sizing of 4x plus some dead money in the pot. So I would expect Andy to go around a 5x raise size here, which would be somewhat like $12,000, $13,000. But Andy decides to go with a small 3-bet of $8,000, which I think possibly could have been a misclick. I don't know. Really, the only person who does know is Andy. And now Garrett Adelstein is in the straddle with King 5 offsuit. Obviously, King 5 offsuit doesn't play well, just fold that hand, but Garrett has other plans. He cold 4-bets to $26,000. Button folds, big blind folds, and now the actions back over on Andy. You're facing a cold 4-bet from the toughest, most dominant player at the table. You're 420 big blinds deep, holding pocket kings. What do you do?
Really strong. He's off his game a little bit tonight.
Yeah, he said it, you said it.
Andy's had kings 3 times tonight.
Right now, he is whatever meat is in between an Andy stacks and Eric person sandwich. It's not very often we see Garrett off his game, too. I mean, the guy is just a beast. Just crushes week after week, but he's human. And Andy, just like last time, just flats with kings. And gets a beautiful, beautiful flop for his hands.
Garrett's really forcing it here with the King 5 offsuit.
Bets 15,000 in the 57.
Yeah, he's probably going to go small bet, big bet.
And then be done with it again?
I think so. Maybe he's
by the way,
planning on barreling.
Garrett can't win this pot. If you're wondering why he can't catch running fives, our graphics take into account folded cards, the dead cards.
Jack 7-7 rainbow. Andy checks. Garrett continues for a $15,000 bet, 1/4 sides of the pot. This is very standard in 4-bet pots, and now the action's over here on Andy. He has a decision, should he call or check raise. Some of you may think, why not just check raise here? There's no ace on the board. Pocket kings looks good, right? Check raise, make it big, try to price him out, try to get him to fold his ace king, ace queens. Well, that's fine, but Andy's still 400 big blinds deep. That's extremely deep for a cash game. What happens if Andy check raises this flop and then Garrett jams on him? What do you do in that situation? Also, if Andy check raises the flop, it basically folds out all of Garrett's bluffs that may be drawing dead or to very, very little equity. So I think the best option here is just to call with pocket kings. Given the fact that you call it pre-flop, calling on this flop seems fine, which Andy decides to do, and they end up going to the 3 of diamonds on the turn. Andy continues to check and flow, which I think is the best option, and now Garrett has a decision. Should he continue to bet here with king 5 offsuit, or should he give up and check back? Well, if we consider the hands that Garrett could have in the situation, like aces, kings, queens, and jacks, all these hands would probably want to continue for another small bet. This card is a total brick on the turn. I would expect him to continue here with all of his hands like aces, kings, and queens. If Garrett did have a hand like queen jack suited, king jack suited, jack 10 suited, maybe those hands would want to pot control and check back for the times that Andy does have an overpair like queens or kings. Some hands that may completely give up on this turn card would be a hand like ace queen without a flush draw, ace 5 suited without a flush draw, maybe a hand like king queen offsuit that has very little equity, or a hand like king 5 offsuit that has no equity at all. Garrett does decide to slow down and check back this turn card, and they're going to the river with $87,000 in the middle.
All right, just gives up.
Andy checking a third time.
I don't know what Garrett's plan was this hand. Not sure he had one.
No, let's find out right now. First part of the plan might have been, I'm going to 4-bet and win it right now. That didn't work.
Yeah, but what was the 15K bet all about?
Setting up a big play here, maybe?
Adding 1 minute.
Garrett in the tank on this one. And he's reaching for it. All in?
Jack of diamonds on the river, the board double pairs, backdoor flush gets there, Andy checks over to Garrett, and what do you do here? $87,000 in the middle, you cold 4-bet pre-flop, king 5 offsuit. Well, Garrett decides to jam all in for $296,000 effective, a massive overbet. This guy's going all in for the size of a house on the river with king 5 offsuit. Andy's in the tank now. He's got a super tough decision. We can go over ranges. What should Andy be calling with? What he should be folding? But all in all, this is just power poker by Garrett. Garrett's basically saying, I don't think you have a jack. I don't think you can call this sizing bet with any of your pocket pairs or ace high. So I'm going to put max pressure on you, which makes playing against Garrett so difficult. Your stack is always in play no matter how big the pot is. Well, in this situation, I think Andy is just forced to fold. It's a huge overbet, a 370 big blind shove. Andy basically can only call here if he has a jack. I guess he could get sticky with a hand like pocket kings, but in this situation, I just feel like you gotta muck your hand and move on to the next one, which is what happens. And Garrett ends up taking down a huge one here with a massive bluff on the river.
Unbelievable. Best hand I've ever seen on this show.
That was awesome.
Next hand we're gonna go over here, the $800 straddles on. Eric Person limps in from the hijack, which is first to act for $800, folds to Andy here in the third blind, who raises it up to 3,000 with ace-5 offsuit. I actually think this is just a little bit too wide for a couple reasons. One, ace-5 offsuit just really doesn't play that well, and Eric is probably never limping to limp fold. He's just always gonna be either calling or limp raising. So if you have a hand like ace-5 offsuit facing a very active player like Eric Person, I would probably just fold that hand pre-flop. However, Andy does decide to come in for a raise to 3,000 over here on Garrett in the $800 straddle, and he has ace-queen offsuit and decides to call. Now over here on Eric Person, and he raises, limp re-raise to $18,000. Andy gets out of the way with his trash ace-5, and Garrett ends up making the call. So they go heads up here to the flop.
Eric Person in position, applying pressure. Garrett calls with ace-queen.
Check.
Well, diamonds again, and Eric's got a double gutter looking for a 5 or a 9. But I think just a bet's going to get it done here. Wow.
Not a great flop for the ace-queen.
No. You can't even catch your breath. Every single hand is a banger. Garrett's going to call, of course.
Who woke this guy up out of his...
Pot's 83,500. Eric looking for a 5 or a 9. An 8 or 7 would be good too.
Check.
Out of his music festival fog.
Check.
10, 6, 4, 2 diamonds. Garrett completely misses with his ace high, but Eric Person flops a double gut shot. Any 5, any 9 will give him a straight. Garrett checks. Eric puts out a big bet of $22,000 into a $39,000 pot. Now, ace queen without a diamond, I think, is just an easy fold on this board. However, Garrett comes along with a call, and I'm trying to think, what is he thinking in this situation? So if we go back to pre-flop, Eric did a limp re-raise. Now we can assume just from gameplay and also experience in live poker that normally when people limp re-raise, it's with very strong, big, powerful cards. Hands like jacks, queens, kings, aces, ace, king, ace, queen, suited broadways as well. So Garrett probably thinks that Eric has a big overpair in this spot, or has a hand like ace, king, ace, queen, king, queen, king, jack. All those hands Eric might limp re-raise and then bet big on this flop. So I think Garrett has a couple plans in mind. One, ace high could be good against Eric's limp re-raise bet on the flop. Also, Garrett could apply a lot of pressure on some turn cards and some river cards and try to bluff Eric off a big overpair. So that's a little bit of what I'm thinking, what's going through Garrett's head when he decides to float here out of position. So heads up to the deuce of clubs on the turn, a complete brick. Garrett decides to check and Eric snap checks behind.
Check.
It's clarity now.
Oh, hello.
The binker to the nuts. 84K in the middle, Dave. How much is Eric gonna bet? After.
Check.
And what's he gonna say to him?
Always so good on TV. You know?
Eric's talking to him.
Fucking beanie.
I think it's interesting to point out that Eric has given up in the past. He's been kind of one and done.
300.
And here he bet 61,300.
I think that was pretty good Hollywooding, to be honest.
Yeah, you like the acting?
1, 3.
I think most poker players are really horrific actors, but yeah, maybe that one wasn't bad.
Remember, he made an 18K pre-flop.
3 makes a straight.
You know who's the worst actor?
I didn't even realize that.
10 seconds. It's a bad thing to not notice.
Yeah.
It's a really big problem, I'd say.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Fuck.
I mean, I'm not raising you,
Oh,
so pretty unlikely to have a 3, so you've got that going for
Why'd
you.
you play your queens like this?
I don't know.
You know?
It's a gross spot now. Huh?
I know, I just fucked you up big time. Put you in a really hard spot.
Yeah.
I know exactly where you're at.
Yeah. What are you trying to say you have?
Oh, I'm trying to say that I have a big set of balls and 61,300.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I'm trying to say.
Big set of balls. Another way of saying the nuts.
Fuck, I might even have a straight in this spot.
Really?
Yeah.
That card?
5 of hearts giving Eric Persson the nut straight on the river. Must be nice. Limp re-raise, bet the flop, bink the straight on the river. Garrett decides to check on this river card, which is somewhat interesting. I think that if he did have a hand like queen high flush draw, jack high flush draw, he would potentially try to bluff with that hand and put out a bet trying to get Eric off an ace high or a king high hand that he was losing to. Given the fact that Garrett checked on this river, I think that he thinks his hand is a little bit too strong to bluff. Ace queen high could be good on this board, and he probably thinks his hand is too good to turn into a bluff. Now over here on Eric Persons, what do? You bet the flop, you hit the nut straight on the river. How much do you bet? Well, he decides to bet $61,300, and now the action's back over here on Garrett, who goes into the tank. He is thinking here with ace high. A lot of us would just have snap folded the flop. If you got there on the river, you would probably snap fold the river, but Garrett is thinking. He's going to the tank. He's wondering, is Eric Persons bluffing here? I can beat some hands like king high, some hands like queen high, some jack high hands, some weaker ace high hands. Garrett is thinking for a while, and then something pretty weird happens.
You give me 10,000, I'll show you your card.
I get to pick the card?
No, I get to pick the card.
10 seconds.
Garrett's in the blender.
All right, 10,000, you can pick the card. Here, I'll throw in his time extension
First misstep.
so we can think about it.
This seems a little desperate to get called. Changing the deal, making it better for Garrett. Let's see if we can figure it out.
It's like information is power.
5,000, I pick the card, you got a deal.
7,000, you get to pick the card.
Good dude.
6, final offer.
Fine, I'll take it.
This is crazy.
Not that one.
Eric Persson decides to let Garrett see one of his cards for a $6,000 tax, and Garrett turns over the 7 of diamonds, which just makes this hand even more interesting and entertaining. On a side note, I do feel like this is somewhat of a tell. Would Eric ever let Garrett see one of his cards if he was bluffing? Let's say he had a hand like queen jack of diamonds. Would he ever show Garrett one of his cards? Maybe. Maybe not. I do feel like this is somewhat of a tell. But now that Garrett sees his 7 of diamonds, it changes everything. Eric can no longer have an overpair in this spot. He can't have 2 pair because there's no 7 on the board. So basically, Eric either has the straight, like 7-8, or 7-3, or he's bluffing. Now, the reason I say that he either has a straight or he's bluffing is because he put out a big polarized bet here on the river. He bet $61,000. Would Eric really do that with a hand like 7-6? 7-4, 7-5, all those hands, pocket 7s, all have a pair. So Garrett's probably thinking to himself, would Eric put out a big bluff here with a single pair hand, like 7-6, pocket 7s? I don't think so. So now Garrett has to decide, could he be bluffing? Well, he could be bluffing. He could have ace 7 of diamonds, king 7 of diamonds, jack 7 of diamonds, 9 7 of diamonds. All these hands that might limp re-raise pre-flop, bet the flop, check the turn, and now have to feel like they have to bluff here on the river. It's a very interesting spot. Obviously, I feel like in this spot, ace high is just probably not good. Even some of Eric's hands that he's turning into a bluff, like pocket 7s or 7-5 or 7-6 you're losing to. I do feel like you can find better hands to call here with, but Garrett goes into the tank for over 3 minutes and finally comes up with his decision.
No, I don't have a pair.
Oh! Breathing easy, risky, he's not calling.
Garrett does not have a read on him.
Diamonds, do you?
This is great theater.
That'd be sick. Fucking diamond over diamond makes this call. That would definitely be you too.
He's
I
disgusted.
don't want that. Can I increase my bet?
He's using all his time chips with ace high.
Call.
Oh, he makes the call! Wow. He made the call!
Wow.
He gets the fist bump from Garrett.
I do feel like this hand kind of encompasses about how all of us feel sometimes. Sometimes you're in the tank forever, you're thinking over a spot, you feel like you have a read on your opponent, you're about to make a big hero call, and you finally put in the chips and your opponent shows you the nuts. It's probably one of the worst feelings in poker when you make a huge hero call and they just have the stone cold nuts. It's happened to me multiple times, so it feels good that it happens to, you know, a crusher like Garrett Adelstein as well. But let's now rewind to the beginning of the video where I posed a question, will we ever see Garrett Adelstein play live poker again? Well, I have a little bit of information, also some thoughts myself. So I asked some people in the poker community if they knew anything, if they heard anything about maybe Garrett coming back or when he would come back. I didn't really get any answers, couldn't get any definitive yes or no. Also, I texted Ryan Feldman, who is Hustler Casino Live co-owner. He puts together all the games. I'm sure he's fairly close with Garrett. I just asked him if there was any news. He said no news. They don't know anything if he's coming back or not. And I also actually personally reached out to Garrett Adelstein on Twitter. I messaged him once before and he messaged me back. Super awesome that he is engaging with fans online. I asked him basically, is there any plans for you to play poker in the year 2023? Well, I sent that yesterday. I haven't gotten a response yet. So understandable, could be a personal question, could be busy, all that kind of stuff. So totally understandable if he didn't answer my question, but I have some thoughts. I do feel like we will see Garrett Adelstein play poker again. I do feel like he's gonna be back. There is still an ongoing investigation between Hustler Live Productions and the Robbie J. Lewd hand with Garrett, seeing if there was any cheating. That is still going on. They have not, produced any definitive yes or no if there was cheating or not. I do feel like the investigation from the third party that's been going on for almost 3 months now is continuing to go on. So I think Garrett's probably waiting to come back until after that investigation is fully wrapped up. He also took a lot of heat online. He got a lot of hate on Twitter, on YouTube, a lot of people just kind of attacking him. So I'm guessing he probably wants that to die down a little bit as well. But as you guys all know, if you've played poker before and you've taken a long hiatus, maybe during COVID, you have a baby, you have a very important job, you start getting the itch. You start feeling like, I gotta get back there. It's been 3 months, I gotta see some cards. It's been a year, I gotta see some cards. I'm sure Garrett will feel that as well. He's been playing for over 20 years. I'm sure he's gonna get that itch to come back and be competitive. And honestly, I hope he does. I know there is some controversy back and forth about how he handled the situation with the cheating allegations and everything like that. But personally, selfishly, I hope Garrett comes back because I feel like he's a very entertaining player. He's very fun to watch. And I also feel like I learn a lot from watching him play. He is super exploitative. He does some odd things and it's good to watch him play. I feel like I can learn from him. So for me, I hope he comes back, but let me know down in the comments what you guys think. Will we ever see Garrett Adelstein play again in the future? Go down to the comments, tell me what you guys think. Let me know what you think about these hands. Let me know if you think we will see Gman on the live streams in the future. But that is it for this one. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Until next time, I'll see ya.